This week's episode of the Run, Eat, Drink podcast is sponsored by Pure Creative Apparel. From logo design to specialty clothing to branded merchandise, the team at Pure Creative Apparel can take your ideas and bring them to life. You can find out more at purecreativeapparel.com, and we thank Pure Creative Apparel for sponsoring this week's show. Welcome to the Run, Eat, Drink podcast. We feature destination races from across the country, and after the race, we take you on a tour of the best local food and beverage to celebrate. So whether you are an elite runner or a back-of-the-packer like us, you'll know the best places to accomplish, explore, and indulge on your next runcation. Hey, welcome to episode 73 of the Run, Eat, Drink podcast. Thanks for being here. Thanks for listening on your commute, your long run, wherever you may be, maybe on the porch having coffee. I'm your host, Aimee. Welcome to the show.
If you're on the porch having coffee, I'm jealous. And I'm your co-host, Dana.
I'm also jealous, as denoted by the Instagram picture of me sipping coffee in Key West today.
That is true. It was a nice way to reminisce about a great way to start the morning. And, you know, coffee is, of course, the best way to start the morning.
Of course.
It's even better when you can do it on a porch overlooking the beach with an iguana looking right back at you.
Beautiful beach and some people walking their dogs up and down the beach and playing and
So you're now back on island time.
Well, you know, what's good about this episode is that we're going to talk about some training updates. We're going to talk about your progress and recovery, but we're also going to talk about the part of our trip. Normally, you're sad when you leave a place and the drive home is indication that the vacation is over.
Mm-hmm.
But what I like about what we're going to talk about today is the drive back home from Key West can still be part of the vacation or the runcation.
Well, there is a reason that people call it going to the Keys, and that's because Key West, while it is a phenomenal destination, there are a lot of keys other than Key West. And part of the fun, if you're going to be doing a road trip, is to make that drive once you leave mainland Florida into part of the vacation.
Yeah.
Make that part of the experience, whether that's on the way down or on the way back or both.
Both.
And we're lucky. We are able to do that a couple of times a year when we head down that way. And for those of you who might be venturing to the southernmost point of the United States.
Yes, we're talking to you.
This gives you an opportunity to learn a couple of great spots that you really should check out if you're heading down that way.
Yeah. And I know that we still have a couple of spots that we're going to feature. One or two quick bites left that we have.
We had so much content from this most recent trip down that since this is not a travel week for us, we're able to release a little bit of extra bonus content throughout the week. So all this week you're going to be seeing items popping up in the feed, the main episode tonight, and then some quick bites for Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So I think that people will be pretty pleased with what all we've got to feature. Yes. And it's not all just Key West. And that's what tonight's episode is going to feature because, like I said, not a training week this week. So we're going to talk about some of the stuff that you're going to see on the way down or back.
Yes. So not a travel, but a training week.
And for you, it was quite the training week.
Well, I'm proud to say that despite a hectic and busy week, I got out there 3 times. I got my 2 short runs and 1 big, long run in this week.
And that was a heck of a long run, too.
Yeah, so I'm working on speed work, and I'm experimenting during the week with some intervals to try and decide what intervals that I want to try and run in Anchorage when we go there. And then we had one big, long last training mileage, high mileage run.
Yeah, this is probably the second longest mileage I think that I recall you doing. And if I had been able to, I would have been right there with you. But you got up to 19 miles this week.
Yes. And I learned a couple of very important lessons in those 19 miles.
Oh, school is in session, everybody. What did you learn?
There are very important lessons. First of all, get up earlier and start earlier out the door than you think you need to in the Florida heat and humidity of July.
So 5 or 5:30 wasn't quite early enough for you.
I started at 5. I should have started at probably 3 or 4 in the morning, because by the time we got to, by the time you were cheering me on to finish the 19, it was what, 12?
Yeah, ish. I mean, you weren't going for speed, so so you were basically doing mostly walking?
Yes. Yeah. I walked the entire thing. He said, Jeff Galloway, who is my coach, as you know, if you are a longtime listener of the podcast, he said, it's not about the speed. It's about the endurance in the building past the distance that you're going to cover in the race that you're training for.
Now, there are a lot of people that would hear you say you ran 19 miles. You must be training for a marathon. But this is in keeping with Jeff's philosophy of going past your target mileage.
Past the race distance.
Past the race distance. And that pushes your theoretical wall, that point at which you kind of hit the wall. I'm doing air quotes. You can't hear it. But you hit the wall when you're sometimes out on a run.
Yeah.
And that's usually the distance. He says that's usually the distance of your longest run in the last 3 weeks.
I believe so, yes.
And a lot of people don't subscribe to that theory. They think that's way more distance than you need to run. But I'll tell you, I've seen it when you run 15, 16 miles. I even see the difference in you when
really?
On race days when you've put in the mileage and you're doing that.
It's good to know that you see that.
Without a doubt.
Love that.
I can tell in your posture by the end of the race. I can tell in your level of fatigue. So you're going to be way ahead of me in Anchorage.
No, let's not be too hasty because you also have to put together good training runs during the week, and I know I've missed a couple of short runs in this training cycle.
Well, missing a couple here and there, but you got them in this week, and you were doing the speed work. Although I don't know that you could get up early enough at this point. I mean, it's now about to be August.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think there's a point of diminishing returns in terms of the earliness.
Well, it was still very humid. When you wake up that early and it's still dark outside, you're not combating the sun overhead at the same time as battling that humidity.
Well, that's true.
So
I guess you have to pick your battles. Do you want to battle the sun or do you want to battle the mosquitoes?
Right. And the other thing,
heat exhaustion or blood loss,
that I learned. The other thing that I learned on this training run is don't forget to reapply your sunscreen.
Oh, yeah.
After you sweat in the heat and humidity.
Yeah, we went to...
Oh, boy.
After the race, we went to Big Storm Brewing to celebrate their 7th anniversary party. They're also their launch of the Category 5 beer, which we posted that video on our Facebook Live.
Oh, we did Instagram as well?
On Instagram.
Yep.
And that video may show up in the feed later this week.
Oh, they were so good to us.
Video quick bite that you'll be able to actually watch on your smart device if your podcatcher supports video.
Yeah,
Apple Podcasts supports video. I believe Downcast supports video. A couple of others. So keep an eye out for that if you didn't catch the Facebook Live.
Anyway, at any rate, or on YouTube. We're on YouTube too.
Yeah, so we walk in and the first words out of a friend of ours' mouth who's sitting there is, "Oh my gosh, you got sunburned."
Yes, I know. It's an amateur mistake. Reapply the sunscreen, people. Learn from my mistakes. Benefit from my wisdom of past experience. I should have known better because I've been in Florida long enough to know better.
Well, we now have a fully stocked pantry full of aloe and solar cane.
Solar cane. It's where it's at.
It works.
It does.
There's something to be said for a topical anesthetic.
It does. Those were the two things that were coming to mind as we were thinking about recording. But it's also about positive mindset and positive mantras. Because when you get up into that higher mileage, it is not all about what your body can do. It is about what your mindset is.
Oh, I would agree with that completely.
All the mental training that Jeff has in his book, and in general in life, when you see books about mindset, it is mind over matter.
I think when you get into those distances, that's the harder part, truthfully.
Yes, it is.
I think there comes a point where the pain is just what the pain is as far as the run goes. And then it's a challenge. And then it's mind over matter.
It's such a challenge, and you just have to stay on top of that. So I've been listening to some really great audiobooks, like Meb Keflezighi's 26 Marathons.
Yep.
And I just started on the end of that long run, Dina Castor's book, Let Your Mind Run, I believe it's called. But it's Dina Castor's book, and I have it. Yeah, Let Your Mind Run. And it's all about mindset.
Well, I could probably use a little bit of that this week. I am having a different mind over matter battle.
Give us your update. I've gone on long enough.
Well, the update for me is that we're now just about to hit the 3-week post-op mark for me, coming off of arthroscopic surgery on my knee. And I've been, day to day, it's been really good. I haven't had a ton of pain. I haven't had a ton of weakness. It really hasn't limited me too much. As you all know, I did some walking shortly after, and I've been continuing on with that. So while you were out doing your 19 miles, I decided to put the shoes on, put the knee brace on, and see if I could get 5 in without it causing me any real problem. And I was able to. I was able to walk 5 miles. So for 3 weeks out from getting my knee scoped and then basically dremeling out my some arthritis in my knee too, the all in all, I can't complain. I just, but mentally I'm upset. I get upset. I have those moments where I regret that I couldn't do the mileage, and I'm concerned about what performance is going to look like in Anchorage. And then today I had, last week I started physical therapy, and even the therapist was like, wow, you're already walking? That's great. And you walked 3 miles. And then I went today and they said, wow, you walked 5 miles? That's fantastic. And I said, yeah, but I did have a bonehead moment.
Yes.
I did have that moment where, my knee was generally feeling really good. And then I kind of forgot that I had just had surgery on it recently, and the bone is not healed. And I knelt down at one point trying to get something from under the bed, and it basically came right down on the bad knee, or the healing knee, with all my body weight. And I was seeing stars. I wanted to cry almost.
Yes. Your reaction was very visceral.
And I was still feeling that a little bit today at therapy. But again, for being 3 weeks out, I really have no complaints. And they're telling me probably not going to be able to legitimately run till about 6 weeks out from the operation, which puts us after Anchorage. So not only will I be there, not only will I be walking it, I will probably be one of the last people to cross the finish line. So if you are going to be in the Anchorage area for the Anchorage Run Fest and you want to meet up, look for the slowest guy in the back of the pack. That'll probably be me. And I'll have a big shirt on that says I'm not slow, even though I'm absolutely going to be slow during that race, because
it's what you should do.
That's just it. But that's what I was going to get at, was the mental training part for me is letting go of the expectations that I put on myself and allowing my body to heal and not overdo it. And that's in some ways that's harder than getting out and going and pounding out the miles. So
it's so tough. I'm
having to learn.
It's a whole different mental challenge.
It really is.
It really is, when you want and your mind wants to do something that your body should not or cannot yet do.
In my case, it's cannot do. So,
yeah.
I mean, it is what it is. Fortunately, that's all it was. It wasn't anything more serious than that, and I'm very thankful for the progress I've got so far.
And you just have to be focusing on that forward progress.
That's it.
From where you are.
But I too am still, as a result of that, I'm like you. I'm on island time. I keep reverting back to wishing we were back down there in the Keys, whether it's Key West or one of the upper Keys. And
really.
So that's the training update for this week, and we are going to be heading. We'll let you know where we're heading next in a few minutes. But it's time to talk about some food. Yes,
because there are delicious food options as you make your way back home from the Keys or from Key West or down to Key West. We just happened to make these stops on our way back home.
Yeah, this time. I mean, whether you're looking for burgers, seafood, you name it, there are some amazing mom and pops that are all up and down the Keys. Many of them specialize in seafood, however, and that only makes sense. When you get down into the Keys, you leave mainland Florida, and you're heading down there into that water, the color of the water changes.
I think it just changes your whole mood.
Oh, it absolutely does. Even the state of Florida paints the divider on the highway cyan blue to kind of blend in with the water. And that changes immediately when you get off the mainland.
So good.
And we, being Floridians and just wanting to get into that island mindset, one of the places that we have stopped, or that we stopped this go-around, is a spot called Kiki's Sandbar. Yes. Kiki's is a waterfront 2-story restaurant with this humongous outdoor area right on the water in Little Torch Key.
And they have a long pier leading out to the water.
You can actually dock your boat and come on up, and I believe that they'll even cook your fish for you.
Oh yeah, they have signs all over the place that says "You catch it, we cook it."
And the outdoor seating area is a white sand beach.
That lower level.
Yeah, it is so cool.
Yes, and when we were there, we watched, and they had 2 border collies. A couple of people that came to hang out at Kiki Sandbar. They had border collies down there. They were in the outdoor area on the sand. They were chasing around balls, and just so adorable.
It is the coolest place. So you can go put your toes in the sand, get some pretty amazing fresh seafood, or bring your own fresh seafood, and they'll just cook it for you.
Right.
And then get back on your boat and head out, or hop back in the car and pick a direction and go.
Yeah.
But we stop in there. This is not our first time going. We are revisiting, or we have revisited some spots this week that we have gone in the past because they bore repetition.
Yes.
And Kiki's was one of those places.
For new offerings, too.
Yes.
Because we started with the fish dip.
Well,
there.
I've talked about fish dip before
on
the show.
You have.
I am very partial to this Florida staple. While we were down in Key West, we had a version of fish dip at a spot that was very fancy. It was put into a pate mold. It was whipped to a perfect, smooth, almost like smoked fish mousse.
Yeah.
And I could understand how somebody might want that, especially in a fancier setting.
Sure. Special occasion,
whatever the case may be. I just want, when you talk fish dip, I want the real deal. I don't want fancy fish. I want smoked mullet.
Whoa.
A lot of times.
Nice.
I'll go, just old school, backwater Florida. Give me smoked mullet, a little bit of mayonnaise, some lemon, and I'll go to town with some saltines. They were doing it right. They were doing their smoked mullet. I think they said it was Jack that they had.
Really?
I think so, if I remember correctly. And they were serving it with blue corn tortilla chips and plantain chips.
I really liked the plantain chips.
Just a hint of sweetness.
Yeah, it's like it complemented the fish so well.
And their fish dip, perfect consistency. Nice.
Not too much creaminess.
Not too much creaminess, not too chunky.
But just enough so you know the fish is there.
And a good portion.
Oh yeah, that was huge for us to split as an appetizer. I could see a table of 4 really being satisfied.
Oh yeah.
With that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And the blue corn tortilla chips, those are a change from the saltines, because I think when we were at a place in Tampa,
yes,
we got fish dip with the saltines like you're talking about.
Well, that's typically how they're served. I mean, that's a very Florida thing.
Yeah. So it was different. It was the blue corn, because we've seen a lot of Cuban and Mexican type influences on this trip.
Yes. Well, we actually sought those restaurants out.
Yeah.
And this was just very old school Florida, but it had that little hint, the Mexican tortilla chips. Perfect. And kind of a nice change of pace.
Yeah.
But that wasn't the real reason.
Well, no.
We had ulterior motives.
I mean, I have the picture favorited on my phone.
We had to conduct
from almost a year ago, right? Or I don't even know.
Well, from last calendar year anyway, when we did go back through the Keys, we stopped in at Kiki's. We picked up an order of what have to be some of the absolute best Ahi Tuna Nachos you will get anywhere. This is worth getting off the road.
Oh, it is.
And giving yourself an extra 30, 40 minutes to just go and enjoy.
To do it. Yes.
And we got those last year, and they were so good, we had to get them again, but we had to do a little experiment.
Because the wait staff there said, hey, the tuna can be prepared any way you want. Really, you can sear it, or you can have it raw. Or, somewhere in between. So the last time we had it, it was raw. And this time, when we started out, we got it seared, cooked. And it changes the dish. First of all, Ahi Tuna Nachos are such a unique take on nachos. It's not nacho chips.
No, describe these.
It's wontons.
Fried
wontons. And then they are topped with that tuna and black and white sesame seed, wasabi peas, and a wasabi sauce.
Wasabi mayo. And
the hoisin sauce. And they also had the pickled ginger.
And seaweed.
And that seaweed is money.
And the way we're describing this, you're like, this doesn't sound like nachos. This sounds like sushi. Well, it is a nacho-esque interpretation
of the flavors
of sushi. Of tuna sushi.
Yeah.
And the last time we got it, it was stellar. That raw tuna, absolutely perfect. And
so good.
We said, let's try it seared. And you said it changes the dish. How did it change it for you? It does.
I feel like it changed the texture, and it definitely changed the flavor of the tuna, because the tuna is just so fresh. And the consistency of it's almost like the flaked tuna that when you have a whole piece of tuna steak and you get it seared and then you serve it at the table and you flake it with your fork.
Right.
I feel like it's that kind of consistency.
Spot on.
Warm, it was so much better than what you get out of a can, but it was just the different consistency. And I think the heat from the searing and the cooking of the tuna actually made the chips not as crispy.
Yeah, I would say that was accurate. And so much so, as we were talking about it and we're eating it. And by the way, we destroyed that first plate.
Oh, yeah. I'm not going to lie. I mean, it's still great. It's just different.
It's different. but we said, could it possibly be that much different? So for science, we ordered a second order of the Ahi Tuna Nachos with the tuna raw.
Yes.
And we
at the same sitting.
At the same sitting, we did an A-B comparison of the two. And I will tell you, regardless of how you like your tuna, and there are going to be people who come down strongly in the camp of cook all my fish.
Of course.
My mother was one of those people. She didn't want to see your rare
I know.
tuna.
My mom is the same way.
Then there are other people like you who seem to be coming down squarely in the camp of bring me my tuna raw.
For this dish especially.
And we were able to A/B test them. And I will tell you, it is almost two completely different dishes.
It is.
In my mind.
It is. Is it not what I said?
It is. Well, I think it is absolutely what you said. I think that the steam coming off from the cooked tuna probably it puts off a little bit of moisture, which makes the chips just not quite as crisp.
Yeah.
And again, it's a textural thing. I'm with you. I like the chew of raw tuna.
Yeah.
Especially with that wasabi and the crispy, almost pickled flavor of the seaweed.
Yes.
So I'm kind of right there with you on that. And this is a humongous plate of food. It is. Oh, yeah. And we were so super stuffed.
So full.
And we regret nothing.
I don't. I'm glad that we did it back to back so that we could see how the cooking of the tuna changes the dish.
Changes the entire flavor of the dish. Both are excellent, but that's good for you all to know, because regardless of which camp you're in, that dish, you are not going to be disappointed.
It's yummy.
So that's what we had to eat, but there are also some pretty amazing places to grab a drink in the Keys when you're heading down to or coming back from the Keys. Well, before we go on, I'm going to take a minute to tell you all about our friends at Pure Creative Apparel. Anybody can silkscreen a shirt. Look, we know it's true. I did it as a project in high school, but the team at Pure Creative Apparel is really much more than that. They will take you through the entire process to create your custom items, right from the very beginning with the design of your artwork or company logo, then create mock-ups to show you what the finished product will look like and help you select just the right high-quality name brand clothing or other merchandise on which you're going to place your artwork or your logo. And then they'll get you your items fast. Or if you're not looking to get into the whole online sales thing and you don't want to worry about inventory, packaging, shipping, and all of that, Pure Creative Apparel has a complete e-commerce package available. So whether you're a school, church, or club needing just a few shirts for a special event, or a company looking for a complete branding package, Pure Creative Apparel can help. Find out how by going to purecreativeapparel.com. And we really thank them for their support of the Run, Eat, Drink podcast.
We went for refreshment to the Florida Keys Brewing Company in Isla Mirada.
Just a little ways up the road.
Yes, it was not too far from Kiki Sandbar, actually.
Well, I think that you are remembering that a little bit through the...
Really?
Yeah, it's a little ways up the road.
Like an hour? 45 minutes? I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's on the way back.
She's the passenger.
To the mainland.
Didn't seem like it was that long. It's because you were taking a nap. It's okay.
I was not taking a nap. I was navigating. Really? Come on. So, yes, we love Florida Keys Brewing, and we featured a flight back in October, or no, it was January.
Okay.
Right? And that flight was on the heels of some pretty great seasonal releases they had.
It was.
And so we sampled a lot of seasonal stuff that doesn't hang around year round. Mm-hmm. And I thought that it warranted a return to Florida Keys Brewing because the environment is so great. Everybody should know about it. But also having a taste of some of their beer that they keep on tap regularly plus a really great deal was worth a revisit.
Oh, absolutely. And let's start with the space itself, because it's not a huge place. It looks like it's I think a 2-story from the front
House.
It's like a 2-story house from the front. It's colorfully painted. You go right in the front door and you're right in the tap room. And off to the left, they've got a couple of tanks where they're actually brewing beer right there where you're sitting.
Yeah.
But the tap room is so colorfully decorated. They've got pendant lights that look like hops. They've got these colorful backsplashes out of tile. They've done artwork on the support pillars out of bottle caps.
Yeah, those were great.
And the tables are all these very beachy wood tables that are all painted.
Yeah.
They've got board games if you want to, if you've got the kids in tow and you want to let them play a board game, or you want to play some games as a family while you have a beer. They have fresh food.
Oh, yes, the empanadas.
They have empanadas provided by a local bakery.
Awesome. And key lime pie.
Mm-hmm. And then that's just the interior.
Right. The outside is so great. It's like a little beer garden, I guess. But there's a stage where they had live music when we stopped in. Mm-hmm. And it was like a country, but I imagine that they have all sorts of music there. And a cornhole game was going on. A mother and a son and a daughter were all playing. And on the porch that comes right off the tap room, there are rocking chairs.
Yep.
All lined up.
Rocking chairs on the porch, and they got Adirondack chairs out in the yard. So you can watch the music or watch people playing cornhole.
It's great.
And it's just a neat space. They've got some beautiful... It's like a big backyard.
Yeah. It's really big, and they have a window where you can walk up behind those rocking chairs. They have a window where you can go and you can grab your pint.
Mm-hmm. Right off the bar.
Right off the bar, whatever you are drinking.
It's a phenomenal space that they've got, and I would love to see it late at night when they've got the patio lights going, the string lights that are hanging in the trees.
And the colors are just so vibrant. They mimic the colors of the water or of like a pink and purplish sunset sky.
Yeah, they got their decor dialed in, and then come to find out they have like a Airbnb.
Something going on where you can stay there.
You can stay upstairs above the tap room.
That is so intrigues me.
That could be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Or it could be just the worst sleep you ever get, but you won't care because you will have some amazing beer.
Yes, you will have a belly full of pretty amazing beer and maybe some empanadas.
And speaking of the beer.
Yes, we should get to the beer and the deal they have.
Tell us about your flight.
As well. I had a flight.
We each had a flight.
I had a flight and you had a flight.
Yes.
A flight for you and a flight for you. Yes. And the flight was 1, 2, 3, 4 samplings. And then I had a bonus after that. Mm-hmm. But anyway, so one of the first ones I had was the Weedline Wheat. The Weedline Wheat. And it comes in at 5.1 ABV and 24.5 IBU. And
so not very bitter.
Not very bitter. It didn't have a really citrusy nose, and the color of it is like a golden yellow. And the best way I can describe it when you smell it is that it had a wheat scent.
Makes sense.
Not a citrus scent, but you get some of that citrus lemon flavor on the front end of your first sip. Medium carbonation. It had a cloudy kind of thing going on when you looked at it in the glass.
But not like a cloudy, like a hazy IPA. Just a little cloud.
No, just a little bit of cloud. It wasn't perfectly clear. It didn't have, you couldn't see the bubbles. It was a medium to mild carbonation.
Yeah.
And I maybe can liken it to a wheatier flavored Blue Moon.
Okay. Not as much orange or coriander type.
No. Mm-mm.
Okay.
So, and I can see where somebody could have that on a hot day.
Oh, yeah.
And if you're not a big fan of over-the-top citrus flavors, if you just really, truly appreciate that wheat flavor, that being your kind of beer.
I could get behind that on a hot day.
Yeah. What about you, sir?
Well, I started with one of their perennial favorites that they have on tap quite a lot, and that's called their Iguana Bait Honey Hibiscus Kolsch.
Oh, this is a good one.
This one we actually saw on tap in some other establishments down in the Keys.
Mm-hmm.
This is coming in at 5.1% ABV and only 21 IBU. So again, not very bitter at all. I describe this as clear, light brown with a slight pinkish hue to it. This has an aroma of honey on the nose when you're first sniffing it. Mild carbonation and a overall very mild flavor, almost bread-like with a little bit of a floral note from the hibiscus. This is a very light-bodied beer, and my notes here say that it is a great hot weather beer, and I will stand by that because I had it in a couple of other locations down in the Keys while we were there.
I do like that one, and I can see why they distribute it or why you can see it in restaurants and bars.
Yeah, there's a reason that one's popular.
Mm-hmm.
So that was what I kicked my my flight off with.
So the second one in my flight was a Tampa Bay Brewing Company collaboration with Florida Keys Brewing.
Okay.
Dragon fruit mango kolsch.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Especially since dragon fruit on its own doesn't taste like much to me. Anyway,
Yeah.
I'm not a huge dragon fruit fan. So
I don't know. I don't have a whole lot of it, and I can't really pin a citrus or fruity flavor to it.
Okay.
You know? So, but mango is a very distinct flavor.
Yes.
It's a very distinct flavor. It's got the texture of peach, but it has its own kind of milder
It's very unique.
flavor.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was 5.4 ABV, and there was no IBU listed for it.
Okay.
So I don't know, and I did some research before we started the show, and I couldn't find anything on the bitterness. But I will tell you it did have a bitter finish. Can we talk about the color? The color is almost like a Kool-Aid pink color.
When they poured that and you told me which one it was and they brought it over, I thought that was going to be like a fruited beer or a lambic almost. It was that
I thought it would
red.
be really, really sweet, or I thought it might be really sour.
Mm-hmm. We've
Something
seen some sours like that.
in that color, but it had a fruity flavor on the nose of it. But it wasn't really no strong, oh, yes, this is dragon fruit, because dragon fruit is nondescript anyway.
To me. Yeah.
Maybe it had a little bit of the mango on the nose of it.
I think that one had more mango than anything else.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's where the fruit flavor came from, but it was not overly sweet like a dessert beer.
Right.
And it had a stronger carbonation to it. So that the color was deceptive.
Yeah.
On that one.
Yeah. Did not taste like what I thought it was going to taste.
And then it had just a bitter finish. Not hoppy, not so hoppy, but just that it's a bitterness, not a sweetness on the finish.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Well, my second beer in my flight was one of their originals called the Spearfish Amber Ale. This one was a 5.4% ABV, 30 IBU, so a little more bitter than the Iguana Bait. This was a medium amber color, very clear, letting light pass right through it, lightly carbonated, very malt forward, very caramel in its flavor, but it had a little bit of a hoppy, bitter finish. I didn't think that this one was really very complex, where like you'll get, sometimes you'll get like, oh, this is initially giving me the malt, then the caramel, then the hops. It wasn't like that. It was, I don't know. This was if you liked a little darker beer, like if you like an amber and you just want something really kind of straightforward, this is the best way I could describe it. This was a very straightforward amber ale.
So it wasn't like the Soulless from Bury Me.
I think Solus has some different complexity of flavor that happens.
And I think it's a little bit heavier than what you had here.
And that's the other thing. This is a lighter bodied beer. So I think this is an amber for people that are in hot weather.
Nice.
Or, going to take the amber out on the boat, get a growler fill, get on the boat and go. That's what this one struck me as. And I'm not saying that in a bad way. I mean, I really enjoyed this one.
Well, and it's named what? Spearfish?
Spearfish.
Yeah, go out on the boat and do some fishing.
Exactly.
There you go. So.
and I'm going to contrast that one in a minute to another one I had in the flight.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, I don't want to steal your thunder, give it away.
No, stick to your beers.
I had the Bayside Blonde, Coffee Blonde, 5.8 ABV and 24.5 IBU. So the Bayside Blonde it's apparently named after some barista that they like there at the brewery. So it had, and it's not a dark coffee like you would anticipate a porter
or stout
or anything like that. It's a dark golden color, but it does not look like it would give you coffee flavors.
We've had a couple of coffee blondes and lighter colored coffee ales in the past that really shocked us.
Yeah. So this was a darker yellow golden color. The coffee flavor, it's just like almost like you are having coffee beans in your mouth, roasted coffee beans in your mouth. Yeah. It was not sweet. I talked about it not being dark in color. It had a medium carbonation and a little bit of a carbonation in the aftertaste, carbonated flavor. But there's no coffee on the nose of it. You get that bean flavor when you drink it. I really liked it.
Yeah. You let me have a little taste of that one. And that one was, I would easily do a whole pint of that.
It was not bitter like a burnt coffee bean.
No.
It was not at all bitter like that. But I would do it.
Well, my next one is in stark contrast to the Spearfish Amber Ale that I just talked about. This is their Hurricane Hole Irish Red, and I am a big fan of Irish Reds.
I love this one.
This was 5.8% ABV, so the alcohol content is starting to climb here, and my dog is chiming in on this one as well. 24.9 IBU. So again, not super bitter. But this had a dark red color.
It was really dark.
Good bit darker than the Spearfish Amber. It was clear, allowing light through it. It had moderate carbonation. This gave you great flavors of toasted malt and finished with a sweetness that was very different from the hoppy bitterness that Spearfish Amber finished with. So this one was a winner.
And I think that's evidenced by the fact that later on we ended up taking some with us.
We did.
So
you're getting ahead.
I know.
Don't get ahead.
I won't. Now, this next one I had was the Resistant Strain Double Hibiscus Kolsch.
What a name.
It is a mouthful. And it was 5.3 ABV and 21 IBU. But $1 of each pint goes to a charity, the Moat Marine Laboratory.
And that's an organization that's researching coral disease and helping to rebuild coral reefs in here in Florida.
Yeah, and they had it in cans in their cooler also that you could. But I like that it supported a charity. And it was pink, in a light pink in color, but it wasn't like that Kool-Aid pink.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it was very different than the ones I was talking about earlier in my flight. So this had a honey aroma. So you talked about the iguana bait having that kind of honey.
Right.
Yeah, it was like this. It was tart up front. And then you got the honey flavor. You got the aroma up front, and then you got the honey in the middle, and then you got a malty finish and no bitterness.
I liked this one a lot.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. And I remember you having a pint of this, do I recall? At some point?
Yes, I did.
Okay. So, yeah. It's good. And Kolsch, we're big fans of Kolsch type beers because we like the poolside Kolsch from J-Dubs.
Yep, and it's a great style of beer, especially for the hot weather and in the summertime. So
yeah, this is nice.
Something to explore if you're not used to Kolsch beers, but you like something lighter and crisper without a lot of bitterness.
Yeah.
But I went and now for something completely different. I had the Knights Who Say Ni Hazy Guava IPA. And in my flight, this was the highest alcohol content beer that I had and probably the most strange. This one came in at 8% ABV and 70 IBU, excuse me.
So very bitter.
A good bit of bitterness in this one. This had a dark hazy gold color. So kind of weird there. Piney nose, which gave me pause at first, especially when I'm expecting something guava. Medium to heavy body. This, in my notes here, this is a substantial beer, is what I wrote.
That comes from the guava?
I don't know if it's coming from the guava or just the fact that, this thing's pretty heavily hopped and you're getting a higher alcohol content with a heavily hopped beer. At the beginning of this beer, it's very sweet at the front and across the palate. The fruitiness kind of lingers, and then it's not as bitter as you would think. It's just a mild, hoppy bitterness at the end, I thought. So for me, as far as IPAs go, this one was a winner.
Yeah. Is there significance to this name?
The Knights Who Say Ni is a reference to Monty Python, hence me saying now for something completely different.
Yes.
So these guys, some of their naming conventions here at the brewery are just very unique, and I can appreciate their sense of humor.
Yes. It was, and you with the IPA, look at you.
I know.
Look at you. So, I couldn't be outdone, really. So, and their naming conventions uniquely continue.
Yes.
I had the Smelly Butt IPA. And apparently that refers to when you are buying pineapple, how you check on the freshness of a pineapple is to smell
the butt.
Who
knew?
I didn't know. I just, you learn something new every day. And that's where the name comes from. It's an IPA. Yes, I did it. I'm trying to expand my palate ever more. 7.4 ABV, 67.4 IBU.
That should be pretty.
Yeah, bitter.
Pretty bitter.
Yeah, it was. The bitterness was on the finish, and it was a caramely color, right there, and really, the pineapple flavor was slight and upfront. And these were not piney hops, as I recall.
Okay.
So, the pineapple is ever so slight. It wasn't like a sweet type flavor.
So more of an aroma of pineapple and less of a sweet flavor.
Yeah.
You had a couple that were just really deceptive. You would think they're going to be like fruited beers, but they turn out not so much.
And that's not a bad thing. It's surprising as you go through different flights and you experience different flavors.
I think in some ways it actually is better because it would be very easy to just add a bunch of fruit puree to a beer and call it a day. These guys are getting a little bit of the essence and not going easy.
I think it's creative or deft to be able to not be heavy-handed in that way.
I agree.
Yeah. And, that was my flight, but really, I know you have,
one more.
One more. Yeah.
I have one more. My final beer was called their Belgian Iguana. And that is a weird one to hear, but this is their iguana bait Kolsch that they add Belgian yeast to. I'm a fan of Kolsch's. I'm a fan of Belgians, so this only made sense. And what this yielded was a beer that had a very light golden color, coming in only at 5.1% ABV and only 20.4 IBU.
Lower on the bitterness scale.
Very light body, mildly carbonated, very crisp with hints of banana and clove with a bit of a bready kind of undertone. Super pleasant. If you are a fan of Belgians, like, I don't know, Hoegaarden, you'll hear me invoke that one a lot because I think that's a great entry into the realm of Belgian style beers. Then this one would be for you to check out, and very, very drinkable.
Hey, here's my question about it. You know how we did the category review?
Yes.
And how we had the launch of the Category 5 this past weekend?
Yes.
Which one in the categories would it be most like?
Closest to Category 1, but lighter in body.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and when you drink your way through the category series, you remember that by the time you get to number 5, number 1, you can barely remember how you got there. But the body of those beers goes up considerably. This starts out at a very light body. I mean, it's like a poolside Kolsch with just hints of that banana and clove would be the best way I could describe that.
Nice.
So you just get kind of a hint. It just wafts those flavors at you.
Yeah.
But you went off the reservation. You didn't even have a beer for your next one.
Well, yeah, okay, because listen, we both had flights.
Yes.
And it was all part of the best deal ever.
Yes, so we're going to tell everybody about the deal that we discovered there?
Yeah.
Because then that'll lead into the bonus that you had here.
Yeah, it's one of the best deals that I've seen anywhere.
When you're going there, they have several different merchandise packages where you can get a combination of merchandise, you can get a combination of beers, and they're varying price points. But there's one that's kind of like the Mac Daddy package that you look at it, initially you go, ooh, that's kind of pricey. But when you break it down, it really isn't. And what we're talking about is the deal that we got, not once, but now twice.
Oh, yeah.
And this is a merchandise package that they offer, which is 2 flights.
2 flights, which we have just described to you here.
And then
2 pints.
2 individual pints.
2 individual pints.
Then they have these fantastic growlers, these stainless steel double-walled growlers made by Drink Tanks.
Yes.
Then they offer you a 64-ounce growler, which the growler by itself is $75 retail.
Yeah, on
and that's
the
looking
website.
on like Amazon. I mean, that's looking for a deal. And they fill the growler.
Yeah.
For $110.
Yeah.
So 2 flights, 2 pints,
a growler
awesome
that retails for $70 some odd,
and it's filled.
Yeah, with delicious beer. Like we got Hurricane Hole in that growler to take home.
That was my Irish Red.
Yep.
So
because it was fantastic.
If you were heading down to the Keys and you're looking for a really nice piece of merchandise, a package of merchandise to get, can't recommend this one highly enough because these Drink Tank growlers, we've had one from a couple of trips ago when we bought it on the way down there.
Yeah.
And we've tried it, we've carried it around, we've beaten it up, we've thrown it in the back of the car, it's rolled around back there. Never a spill, never a leak. And they are not a paid sponsor. This is just cool stuff found.
No, yeah.
From us.
Totally.
And Drink Tanks, awesome. And when we take that growler into a brewery, they always comment about how cool of a growler this thing is.
Yeah, and if you don't want a 64-ounce growler, they do have 32-ounce there at the Florida Keys Brewing. They also have other packages like where
couple
you
of shirts
and maybe a pint
beer.
glasses.
Right.
Yeah. So if you're not wanting to be totally invested in the huge drink tanks, but I think you could fill those up with that up with water, with ice water, and just have it with you. Coffee. because it keeps everything so cold.
Yeah, the double-walled construction is perfect for keeping hot things hot and cold things cold.
Love it.
Works great for beer, though. And that's what we ended up getting this go-round.
Yeah. So you had to have a pint, and I had to have a pint to make that deal happen.
Yeah.
And I asked.
I went with the iguana bait.
Yes, which was excellent. I really like that because of the honey flavor. And I also like the honey flavor in the Keys mead that I had.
Now,
so
was that a guest tap?
That was.
Okay.
Yes. And it had honey, local honey out of Key Largo. And Keys Meads, they have their own website. They have their own location. But this, and I liked how they had a little branded glass that they served the Keys mead in.
Yeah, they did a nice job. You had to forego an entire pint. You got a 5-ounce pour of the Keys mead, and they had the branded little snifter tulip busking cups. I'm sorry, busking glasses.
Yeah,
for that. So
it was
small,
but
mighty.
It packed a punch at 13% ABV.
Woo!
But the honey flavor was so incredible.
I will say I had a little sip of that or two, and it was outstanding. I mean, that is a perfect dessert mead.
Yeah.
And we stayed there. We were there for a couple of hours. We took our time. I think we ate our way through their empanada menu.
We did.
And
lots of water.
Lots of water and time. And just a fantastic little after dinner or after lunch kind of thing for you.
Yeah. It could also complement the key lime pie they have very well.
I'm sure it could.
I'm sure it could, although we didn't have the key lime pie. I can just think because this is sweet, but it's not overly sweet.
Gotcha.
Well done.
Well done indeed.
Yeah.
Well, I'm hearing our pooch barking at us in the other room. So that tells me that she's telling us to hurry up and get off the mic. So what do we got coming up?
They need attention. Our pooches need attention. So, yes. Next week, we will be heading to Disney in the last of our 3 summer Run Disney virtual 5Ks celebrating 80 years of Marvel, where we'll earn the Black Panther medal.
It looks so good. I can't wait to see that thing out of the wrapper.
The bonus 80 years of Marvel medal that we will display in live videos.
That too.
From Disney. So we're currently planning that. And we still want to know where should we run? But also, where should we eat and drink there at Disney?
Yeah, the only planning we've done is that we're going to be arriving in Orlando and staying on the Disney property in that general area. So we can go anywhere. And what we're looking for you guys to tell us is there a place that you have run yourself that you think is awesome that we should check out? Or is there a place that you are curious about and you'd like us to do some advanced scouting for you?
And we also...
Put us to work.
Yeah. We will also take suggestions of great places that you have eaten and had tasty beverages or ones you want us to explore for you.
Absolutely.
So...
Put us to work.
info@runeatdrink.net. That's info@runeatdrink.net to drop us an email or attach a little voice memo so we can play it.
Or just give us a call at 941-677-2733. That's 941-677-2733. Leave us a voicemail. Try to keep it to about a minute. Tell us your name and where you're calling from, and we would love to have you on the podcast giving us a recommendation.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we'll be back to recap that next week. And stay tuned this week for all the rest of our quick bites from Key West and even a primer for Disney.
And maybe a little video snippet from Big
Storm
Brewing.
Yeah.
So, lots of good stuff coming up this week.
In the meantime, I'm Aimee.
And I'm Dana.
Have a fantastic week, and thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the Run, Eat, Drink podcast. We're having a great 3rd year because of your support. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Run, Eat, Drink Podcast. And on Twitter, we're at Run, Eat, Drink Pod. You can also give us a call at 677-2733 or shoot us an email at info@runeatdrink.net. Visit our website at runeatdrink.net and click on the subscribe link so you don't miss a minute. Accomplish, explore, and indulge right along with us. We'll talk to you next time.